January 5th, 2000 in Lee County, Alabama, 3 friends and I decided to camp on one of my friend's land. We had 2 four-wheelers and a dog with us. It was a rainy day and the ground of the surrounding area was significantly wet. We decided to camp anyway. It stopped raining about dusk when my friend and I started to pitch the tent, while the other 2 went back to their house for some more supplies. Mind you, we were only camping about a mile from the road and 1.5 miles from the landowner's home. About 10 minutes after their departure, my friend and I started hearing strange grunts, a foul smell, and heavy footsteps. It went on for about 10 minutes, with sounds getting closer and at random, as though the animal was trying to scare us or get us to make a move. It stopped when my friends arrived back and we dismissed it as deer, spooked by our presence. We told of the incident to our friends, and the landowner's son explained that his dad had been experiencing strange occurrences lately. We went on with our camping and rode four-wheelers for about 2 hours. When we arrived back at camp, we decided to stay for the rest of the night. About 10 minutes after arriving back, the same strange grunts and heavy steps began again. This time they were more agitated and frequent. The sounds came within at least 20 yards of our camp. The area is heavily wooded, so I could not see the animal at this time. The animal was across the creek at the beginning of the sounds and eventually jumped down into the creek, about a 7-foot drop, and stayed there making grunts and heavy steps for about 5 to 10 minutes. Being very frightened and defensive, I picked up about a 10-pound rock and threw it in the vicinity of the animal below in the creek. I could not see the animal due to the foliage. It must have hit the animal because it gave a loud shriek and ran up the creek away from us, then jumped back up on the bank, a 7-foot jump, and ran back behind our campsite. It then proceeded to make very loud grunts and ran around the back of the campsite, about 20 yards away in the woods, out of our fire's sight. It then stopped, and we could hear it breathing heavily. Talking amongst ourselves and shouting at the animal, it then made the most blood-curdling scream I have ever heard. I would describe it as high-pitched and seemed to echo everywhere around us. I have heard bobcats and screech owls and can tell you this was not one. We then proceeded to leave hastily on our ATVs and went and got the father of my friend. He came back with us and stayed a while with no occurrences. He left, and we somehow got ourselves to stay for the night. Nothing happened the rest of the night, and we went to sleep. I awoke at 3 a.m. to the same grunts and heavy footsteps. This time they were very close. They lasted by my watch until 3:45 a.m. Not waking my friends in fear of the animal becoming aggressive, I laid there and listened to this animal. Afterwards, I laid there until sunrise and told my friends of the sounds and occurrences of the night. They asked me due to my, as they described, pale face and rattled demeanor. We then went and looked for any evidence of the animal. We found locks of hair in the trees, approximately 7 feet high, and numerous large footprints, similar to a human's, but with no arch and a very large great toe. We then proceeded to follow the footprints to where, amongst downed trees and foliage, we found where a large animal had been laying. We found hair there also. We continued to trail the animal's leavings when we came across the same sounds of footsteps. They were too scared to go over the hill and see the animal making the noise, so they told me to. Reluctantly, I did, and saw a large upright creature, approximately 7 to 8 feet tall, walking with its back to me. It was covered in hair, black to dark brown, and had an awful smell. It turned and, alarmed by my presence, ran away from me. I then turned and ran away from it towards my friends, who I shouted to run. They got up and ran, and we ran back to our campsite and stayed there, where I told them what I saw. For a few months after that, we heard the same grunts and shrieks down the creek where we camped that night. We frequently rode ATVs down there, and an occurrence was frequent. Occurrences also happened at other places 2 to 3 miles away from the area of occurrence. A sighting was also reported at a park about a mile up the road from my house, 3 miles from the creek. We also found footprints in a nearby rock quarry. My brother and I also saw a brown animal who we thought to be a man at first, but trailed him to find that it could not have been a man, on hunting land a mile from our house. No occurrences have happened in the past 3 years, but I also don't ride or camp as much either,